Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. They win it and they get another W and they get better draft position. Oh, it's so beautiful. That's right, the Bears win on Thursday. They're 2-0 on Thursday night at home. They win this one in the orange jerseys for the first time with the orange jerseys and orange helmets. And they beat the Carolina Panthers 16-13 in what many will call a snooze fest, but it's an ugly game. But hey, I didn't get too bored. That's kind of more what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I've stated this on this channel before. I probably have. But I value one-score games. Like, when just watching football, I love games that stay one score. Like, especially having games that stay within one score is great. That's when the game is best. Which is why I would rather them play in a game like this, 16-13, than get blown out. Or blow them out. Like, as a casual watcher, I would rather watch a 16-13 game where the game does go down to the wire than a game that is over by the third quarter. So I know a lot of people probably don't share that sentiment because they value the scoring, and because neither team broke 20 points means it's a bad game. Offenses weren't really working. But I'm not necessarily in that camp. I've always kind of just enjoyed watching one-score games. But then again, that probably comes from the fact that I have to watch this team. Out of all 32 teams, I have to watch the Chicago Bears, who are they are playing in these 17-14, 16-13, 13-19 games all the time. This was like a staple for a solid 3 years. From 2019 to 2020. I'll skip 2018 mainly because they were winning a lot of those games, but they had a couple of those games in 2018. But the late 2010s, that was how most Bears games went. The defense would do so much of the work, and they play so well, hold the other team to pretty much no points, but the offense could not do a single thing, and the defense got tired out by the start of the fourth quarter. It'd be a one-possession game up to that point. And then they got tired, and the opposing offense just bridged the gap, and that's it, game over. But I'm used to watching these games, so forgive me if I feel a little too happy about having to watch that ugly game. Which, to be fair, there were a lot of plays in this game that really did showcase why these two teams are as bad as they are. Plenty of third down plays. Let me tell you, plenty of third down throws that were just off the mark and not even close to the target. Bagent had a couple where he just threw right into the ground. And Young had one or two, but he sailed a couple. The quarterback play wasn't, really amazing, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know where I'm trying to go. The quarterback play was not that great. And to be honest, I think one thing that illustrates that very well from this game was the fact that I didn't really even feel that nervous throughout pretty much the entire duration of this game. Once Deontay Foreman scored that touchdown, I really didn't feel that nervous for the team because the Panthers' offense had looked so poor, just looked so bad that I was didn't seem like there was a great chance that they were going to come back. I really didn't believe in that offense, and our defense was, even though they didn't force a takeaway or. They had their moments, but they stepped up and they actually got to the quarterback. Bryce Young was sacked 3 times by our defense. That's embarrassing if you're the Panthers O-line because our D-line is absolutely horrid. But Montez Sweat was being a big presence on the field this time. I feel like even though he didn't get a sack, I feel like his presence was much more well known, and so that's kind of how that went. And it's just that Panthers offense, man, they did not look good, man. I thought our offense was really bad, but makes a lot of sense why the Panthers really, I don't even remember the last time they scored more than 25 points. And Bryce Young, he was kind of running. He was making some plays with his legs, but I think Bryce Young has struggled a lot this year, in part due to having a poor O-line and the situation he's in just in general. I think it's just really hurt him. With the loss today, Bryce Young is now 1-8 in his NFL career. He has more losses in his first season with the Panthers, in his first half season with the Panthers, than he did in his high school years and college years combined. That's just ridiculous. Like, some of these quarterbacks that are coming out, like Trevor Lawrence was another one. I don't think he lost a singular regular season game in college or in high school. Like, his first loss was the Jaguars. Was going to be his first regular season loss of his career. So, like, some of these quarterbacks that have been coming in the league, they have been unbelievably good in high school and in college. But it's so much different when you get into the NFL because you can pick where you go to college. Sometimes you can stumble into a great scenario with high school. You can play with some of the best players in the country. But when you get into the NFL, especially if you are a hot top quarterback, you can get thrown into an absolutely terrible situation. Look at what Bryce Young has had to deal with. Look what Justin Fields has had to deal with through his time with the Bears. Absolutely terrible situation. And he has been coached so poorly to the point where he just hasn't been able to win football games. It's just so embarrassing. And there's a part of me that's like, I didn't really feel like Bryce Young did anything to win or lose the game. I feel like, well, kind of. But there's not really a big thing that I can say that really won or lost this game. This game would definitely have been out of reach without Ihmir Smith-Marsette taking a punt return all the way to the house. Of course, it's Ihmir Smith-Marsette who does that. Of course. Why not? Why wouldn't it be anyone else except a former Bear? There were a couple former Bears on that team. Of course, Ihmir Smith-Marsette, who I actually had no idea was on that team until he returned that punt. And then, of course, Eddie Pinheiro. But this is a huge revenge game for a lot of Bears players as well. DJ Moore was traded from the Panthers. Deontay Foreman played for the Panthers. Before the season, P.J. Walker used to be a Panther before he got beat out by Bagent for the job in Cleveland, or in Chicago, and then went to Cleveland. It's like there are a couple players, and of course the draft positions being at stake. So absolutely crazy how many similarities these teams have right now in terms of players coming from Carolina or going to Carolina, and coming from Chicago to Chicago. Like, interesting stuff. And this is the exact reason why at the beginning of the season I thought that this game was a great pick for Thursday night. I had no idea why they picked the Bears-Commanders game again, after that being one of the worst games of the season last year. Don't know how they decided to put it in. I mean, of course it was fine this time because, we were like 60 points, but still. Really weird decision. This one made a lot more sense at the beginning of the year. Because remember, at the beginning of the year, hopes were high for Chicago. Justin Fields, hoping he was going to blossom. But of course, we all know that didn't happen because Getsy decided to make him a pocket passer, not let Justin be him, and not let him play to his strengths like every other Bears coach that has existed in the past 10 years. Don't understand why that's such a hard concept to grasp. But also because of the draft position and the big trade. DJ Moore plays against the Panthers for the first time. Our pick is in their hands. And now us winning this game is huge because it gets us better draft position, of course. But also it's very interesting because we have these two teams. And frankly, I think most of us would have thought the Panthers would be better than 1-8 or 1-7 coming into this game. And many people thought that the Bears were going to be better than 2-7. Of course, probably not by much, maybe 3-6, maybe 4-5, but not 2-7 and looking this poor. So definitely, at the beginning of the season, this game made a lot of sense. as the game has gotten closer and closer, and of course into the night, it's not looked that good at all. I was really looking forward to this game because I was like, this is a great game to, show that we have a great, not necessarily a great team, but a team that is on the up, and we're improving, and we still have their first, so it also knocks them down a peg. So I thought there were a lot more storylines that could be made from this game, and it deserved prime time. Of course, the game turned out to be between a 2-7 Bears team and a 1-7 Panthers team. But you know what? It's whatever. They scheduled it at the beginning of the year, and that's the thing. At the beginning of the year, you think all these things, just like the Jets and the Raiders are playing on Sunday night this week. Beginning of the year, we thought many different things about the Jets and the Raiders. Obviously, things have changed. So, I don't know. That's kind of, I know there was a lot of people who are saying this was going to be like the worst primetime game of the year, worst primetime game in centuries. Did you see the Broncos-Colts game on Thursday night last year? Okay, that you can't have a worse primetime game than that. You can't follow it up like that. At least there were 2 touchdowns in this game. Like, I know that's a lot of punting. There was a punt return touchdown. It's like, at least there was a little something. And there was, at least both teams got into the end zone once, and it wasn't just field goals. And that game went to overtime, too. Enough rambling. Tyson Bagent looked fine. He didn't need to do much. Running game from D'Onta Foreman was really nice. They found some good holes, had some good gains. DJ Moore was reliable in this game again. Of course, no turnovers is the big reason why they won this game. Like, I know that the offense still didn't look great, but infinitely better than what they did when they turned the ball over 5 times. Would I have liked to see them punch it into the end zone once or twice more? Of course. But I'm definitely not complaining because they won. Of course, you can nitpick, but I'm not going to really focus on that right now. It's just they won. I think there are things to fix, naturally, but by this point, when they play Detroit, we should have Justin Fields back and Khalil Herbert back, probably. Of course, I almost said Justin Herbert, mixing up their 2 names, of course. But, we should probably have both those players back. I think, I know Justin Fields will probably be back for that game against the Lions. I've heard that Herbert should be back for that. I'd hope so. But, I don't know what they do. They have 3 really good running backs now, which is why I'm really interested with this rise of Roschon Johnson. He beat out D'Onta Foreman at the beginning of the season for the job, and it's like the backup job. And Foreman's done a great job in replace when both Herbert and Johnson went down in Washington. He's stepped up, and he's been a great running back. He's been great and reliable. And D'Onta Foreman isn't going to break off these massive runs. He hasn't really broken off like a huge 20-plus yard run yet. But he's keeping the team ahead of the sticks and giving them chances to get third and manageables, which is so important for this team because the passing attack just isn't super lethal, and they're just not airing the ball out. So staying ahead of the sticks is huge, and Foreman is great for helping out with that. Foreman, what I've noticed these past couple weeks, Foreman has really good vision. He's able to find some of these holes when it feels like they aren't there, but he's able to find some holes and just find a way to get through and, get a couple extra yards. Like, it's huge when you can find even just a little bit to just give yourself even some sort of advantage to get a couple extra yard or 2. It's huge. So I love what Foreman's done. I don't know what they do when Herbert comes back and it's Herbert, Johnson, and Foreman. I don't know what they do. I'd probably say Johnson's the one that probably goes to the running back 3 position. But then again, today they ran 3 running backs. Johnson had carries, Foreman had carries, Darrington Evans had a couple carries. So I feel like, Johnson could be a third down, or maybe Foreman becomes like a third down back. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happens. But that, of course, is something to figure out over the next 10 days as they get ready for Detroit, which schedule heats up here Wow. So, like, the team has Detroit next. So that's why getting this win is really big, because it also not only does it, you get just another win on the score sheet, but it doesn't hurt your draft position at all. It actually helps getting a chance for maybe the first overall, because Carolina has played so bad this season. I think they're tied now with Arizona for the number 1 pick. I don't know if they technically have the tiebreaker for that. Obviously, Arizona would have, if they lost, then Carolina would be second overall because Arizona hasn't had their bye. But it's going to be interesting. It's a big win, and they get to go. They get to go to Detroit next week. They have to. That's an L. That's an L. The Lions are playing really good. I mean, unless Fields comes back and plays like he did against Washington and Denver, and just comes back with some just absolutely great game, they're not going to win, because that defense isn't going to be able to hold that Lions passing attack. That Lions offense is really good. Then they get to play in Minnesota, which, of course, after Kirk Cousins went down, that felt like much more of a winnable game. But seeing what Josh Dobbs did against Atlanta after being with the team for less than a week, crazy, unbelievable story. Love what Josh Dobbs is doing right now. So I have no idea how that's going to go. Then they get the bye, and then they get their home game against Detroit, which have no idea. They'll probably have a closer chance on that one, but I don't know if they're going to win it. Then they get to go to Cleveland. So the next 4 games are pretty tough, and Cleveland's defense is fantastic. Then their schedule eases up to end the year with home game versus the Cardinals, home game versus the Falcons, and then you're in Lambeau, which, frankly, this is your best chance to win in Lambeau in years. Years. And yet they're still probably the worst team going into that game, probably, I would assume. And that's the funniest part. Even though Green Bay has been really bad this year, they probably will still be the better team going into that game in Lambeau. So, I don't know. It's a tough stretch here to the bye. So, Bears win on Thursday. They're 2-0. Just one primetime game left against the Vikings. That's on Monday night. One more left, and that's it. This is going to be interesting. If we do get Fields and Herbert back, I'm interested to see what they do in Detroit and how they utilize, and see if their return really improves stuff substantially. But as it stands, Bagent, if Fields comes back, Bagent finishes the season 2-2 as a starter. I'm not going to complain. I mean, to be fair, it was the Raiders and the Panthers, but then again, they should have won those games, and they did. There's an argument you can make. If Fields plays, they probably get a better chance in LA. I don't think they win that game, but they probably win in New Orleans because they don't have 5 turnovers. So maybe there's another win, but obviously that's only hypotheticals. We can't look at that anymore. So 3-7 with a trip to Ford Field up next on their schedule. The mini bye is going to be huge for them to try and get a little more healthy here. So going to be interesting to see what they do out in Detroit. But that's it for this video. If you liked it, please give this one a like and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more from me. And without further ado, I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one, everyone. See you guys.